My name is Evelyn Hart, and I'm 29 years old. The night my boyfriend said, "It's not the same thing, she's just my friend." Something very small and very tired inside me stood up, took off her apron, and walked out of the version of me that kept auditioning for basic respect. I was standing at our sink, wrists wrinkled from hot water, the city humming faintly through our third-floor windows. The tap was running over a skillet, steam fogging the glass, the smell of garlic and dish soap curling in the air. Liam wandered into the kitchen with that loose, easy bounce in his step he always had when he was about to drop something on me and pretend it was no big deal. He leaned against the counter, scrolling his phone, the screen lighting up his jaw. "So," he said casually, "I'm going to wine country next weekend." At first, I thought I misheard him. I blinked at the pan, scrubbing absent-mindedly at a spot that had already come clean. "Sorry, what?" I asked, without looking up. He grinned, eyes still on his phone. "Clover Ridge? That little boutique hotel that does wine tours and the cheese pairing thing? They're running a promo. Chloe found this amazing weekend deal." The name dropped into my stomach like a rock. Chloe Mason, 28, Liam's best friend from college, the girl he texted every day, the one who had a folder of inside jokes with him that I was never really invited into, the one he grabbed lunch with twice a week just to catch up, even though we barely had time to eat dinner together on weeknights. "When are we going?" I asked carefully. He finally looked up, as if I was the one missing something obvious. "Oh, no, it's just me and Chloe. It's been forever since we had friend time." My hand stopped moving. The water hissed against the hot skillet. I could hear the pipes clunk quietly in the wall. "A weekend trip," I repeated. "Just you and Chloe. To a wine country boutique hotel with, what did you say, cheese pairings?" He sighed instantly, like I was a kid who had just spilled juice. "Eve, don't be that girl." I turned off the tap. The sudden quiet roared in my ears. "What girl?" "The insecure one," he said, straightening up. "She's my friend. We've been planning this forever. It's just a trip. You know, Chloe, it's not like that." I dried my hands slowly, feeling my heartbeat in my fingertips. "Liam, do you honestly not see how that looks? A romantic little vineyard getaway with your beautiful female best friend? Just the two of you?" He rolled his eyes. "God, it's not romantic. Wine tasting is an activity, not a proposal. You're blowing this way out of proportion." "I'm uncomfortable with my boyfriend going on a weekend getaway with another woman," I said quietly. My voice sounded oddly calm, even to me. "That's not blowing anything out of proportion. That's basic." He laughed once, a short, annoyed huff. "You have guy friends too. I don't freak out every time you talk to Noah." Noah Reed, 26. My coworker. Kind. A little sarcastic. The person I'd survived last year's brutal project with. We met for coffee occasionally, traded memes, complained about budgets. He was easy, simple, and crucially, not someone I was sharing a hotel room with. "That's not the same thing," I said. "I don't take Noah on intimate weekends to wine country. I don't book coupley boutique hotels with him." Liam shook his head. "You're making it weird. Chloe is basically like a sister to me." There it was, the line I'd heard before. Basically like a sister. The sister whose bikini pics he accidentally liked at 2 in the morning. The sister whose texts he answered the second they came in, even during dinner with me. The sister he'd once drunkenly admitted he'd almost hooked up with once, but that was forever ago. "I'm telling you I don't feel okay with this," I said. The air felt thick, like we were standing in a hallway filled with smoke. "I'm not forbidding you to have friends. I'm telling you this specific situation crosses a line for me." He stepped closer, his tone softening into that patronizing gentleness that always made me feel like I was being managed. "Eve, you need to trust me. You know I love you. I wouldn't do anything to hurt you. You can't control who I'm friends with. Healthy relationships have trust." There it was, the word he always used like a weapon. Trust. "And healthy relationships have boundaries," I said. "This is mine." He studied my face like I was an exam he hadn't studied for. "You're being super dramatic right now. It's not the same as going away on a romantic couple's trip. I don't need your permission to go on a friend trip." Something flinched inside my chest at that. I don't need your permission. It wasn't the words themselves, it was what they carried. Not partnership, not conversation. A quiet declaration of hierarchy. I opened my mouth to argue again, to pull out all the little receipts I'd collected in my head, the late-night laughs, the "you'd look so good in this dress" text Chloe had sent him, the way his phone flipped face down whenever he messaged her while we watched TV. Instead, I exhaled. A line snapped straight in my mind. blue chalk dust hanging in the air. On one side, the version of me who kept negotiating my own discomfort down to make him comfortable. On the other, the woman who had finally run out of ways to explain the obvious. "You know what?" I said, my voice suddenly very light. "You're right." He blinked. "I am?" I nodded. "If you say it's just a friend trip, then okay, I understand." Relief rushed over his face so fast it almost hurt to watch. "See, I knew you'd come around." He leaned in, kissed my forehead like he was patting a dog that finally sat. "You're the best." He walked out of the kitchen, humming, already pulling up the hotel website to book. I leaned back against the counter, feeling the cool laminate against my spine. In the dark reflection of the kitchen window, I barely recognized my own face. The woman looking back at me had the same brown eyes, the same tired bun, the same dish soap on her wrist. But there was something different in her gaze, a quiet calculation, a sudden, eerie calm. Later that night, after he'd booked the trip and spent an hour excitedly talking about vineyards and charcuterie like I wasn't slowly bleeding out inside, I sat on the edge of our bed and picked up my phone. My thumbs hovered for a moment over the keyboard. Me. "Hey, random question." I typed Noah's number in the bar and hit send before I could overthink it. Me. "Still interested in that resort you mentioned a while back? The one that's like 3 hours away?" I stared at the message, my heart tapping lightly against my ribs. It wasn't about revenge, not really. It was about holding up a mirror, showing Liam exactly what just a friend looked like from the outside. The bubbles appeared almost immediately. Noah. "Oh my God, yes. My buddy bailed on me for that months ago. You serious?" My fingers moved on their own. Me. "Dead serious. I'll book 2 rooms. We can split the gas." There was a pause, like he was making sure this wasn't some elaborate bit. Noah. "Works for me. I could use a break from spreadsheets and passive-aggressive emails. This is going to be fun." I smiled a little despite myself. I opened the resort's website. It was worse than wine country, honestly. Sunset sailing packages, couples massages, candlelit dinners with wine pairings. Their Instagram was an endless feed of people kissing on balconies and clinking glasses over glowing tables. 2 rooms, I told myself as I booked. 2 rooms, clear boundaries, no lines crossed, not even touched. If Liam was right, if it was really just a friend thing, nothing romantic, totally harmless, then he wouldn't have a problem with me doing the exact same thing. Right? The week slid by in a surreal blur. Liam spent it talking about outfits and wineries and texting Chloe in front of me with the shameless ease of someone completely convinced they were right. Every time I tried to bring it up again, he'd say, "We already talked about this," like closing a tab. I packed in secret, folded clothes into a small duffel when he was in the shower or out with Chloe, slipped my swimsuit between jeans and a sundress while he was distracted by a game on his phone. Friday morning came, sharp and bright. He wheeled his suitcase into the living room, humming, wearing his favorite shirt, the one I'd bought him for his birthday. Chloe's name flashed across his screen with a "Here!" text and a car emoji. He kissed my cheek. "See you Sunday night. Don't be mopey. Call Tessa. Have a girls' night or something." "Actually," I said, drying my hands on a dish towel, "I've got plans too." He smiled approvingly. "See? Healthy. Separate activities." He grabbed his bag. "Love you." I watched him walk out the door and down the hallway until the sound of his footsteps faded. The apartment went very quiet. I stood there for a moment, listening to my own breathing. Then I went to the bedroom, pulled my duffel from the back of the closet, and set it on the bed. The zipper sounded loud in the stillness. In the reflection of the wardrobe mirror, the woman watching herself pack looked calm, collected. A little sad, maybe, but not helpless. "I understand," I whispered to no one. I slipped my phone into my bag, picked up my keys, and walked out to meet Noah. When I climbed into Noah's car that morning, the city was still half asleep. Pale gold light filtered through the windshield, brushing against the side of his face as he adjusted the rearview mirror. "Morning," he said, flashing that easy grin that always came without any kind of agenda. "Ready to escape the spreadsheet jungle?" I smiled faintly. "As ready as I'll ever be." He had a coffee waiting for me in the cup holder. Oat milk, 1 sugar, exactly how I took it. I hadn't even realized he remembered. "Figured you might need caffeine for whatever adventure this turns into," he said. I took the cup. "You have no idea." We drove in companionable silence for the first hour. The road unspooled through rolling hills and early morning fog. Every few miles, Noah hummed along to the radio, old indie songs that reminded me of college summers. It felt strangely peaceful. No tension. No waiting for someone to interpret my silence as an attack. At some point, I caught myself laughing at one of his jokes. A real laugh, one that cracked open something in my chest I hadn't noticed had hardened over. He looked over, surprised. Haven't heard that one in a while. What? That laugh, you've been quiet lately. I shrugged. Been a long few months. He didn't press, just nodded, eyes back on the road. Well, no work talk this weekend. Deal? Deal. It was supposed to be harmless. Just a weekend. Just two friends. Just to make a point. But as the miles passed, I started realizing how little of my relationship with Liam had felt like this. Easy, steady, like air I didn't have to ration. We stopped for gas around 10. I stretched my legs beside the car, feeling my phone buzz over and over in my pocket. When I finally glanced down, I saw the flood of notifications. 12 missed calls, 16 texts, all from Liam. I didn't open them right away. Instead, I unlocked the screen and saw the reason why. Noah had posted a quick story while we were fueling up, a photo of the dashboard, our coffees, and the caption, "Weekend Adventure Loading." I hadn't even noticed him take it. My stomach fluttered once, sharp and light, as if the air had just thinned, and then, ping. The first message popped up on my screen. Liam, are you serious right now? Liam, who is that in your story? Liam, call me back, now. I stared at the screen for a moment, then locked it again and slid it back into my pocket. The vibration kept going. More calls, more texts, until I turned on Do Not Disturb. Noah noticed, of course. Everything okay? Yeah, I said, exhaling through my nose. Just predictable. He gave me a knowing look, but didn't pry. Want to drive the next stretch? Might distract you. So I drove. The steady rhythm of the highway felt like something cleansing, mile markers passing like measured breaths. By the time we reached the resort, the sky had turned honey-colored, and the vineyards stretched out on either side like ribbons of green silk. The place was worse than I remembered from the website. Worse, meaning beautiful. Romantic in every curated, Pinterest-perfect way. Arched doorways, cascading ivy, a soft instrumental soundtrack echoing faintly through the courtyard. Wow, Noah said, grabbing his bag. If I didn't know better, I'd say you were running a con to make me fall in love. I laughed. You're safe. I'm off duty for heartbreak this month. He smiled at that. Good. Same. At check-in, the woman at the front desk handed over 2 key cards. Mr. Reed, Ms. Hart, welcome. 2 rooms, side by side. Breakfast is served until 10, spa services until 8. Thanks, I said, and felt the strange, quiet satisfaction of knowing if Liam saw this, there'd be no way to twist it into something else. Still, curiosity got the better of me. While Noah signed the receipt, I turned on my phone again. The screen nearly exploded with messages. Liam, 10:43 a.m. You're out of your mind. Liam, 10:48 a.m. Who is he? Liam, 10:49 a.m. You better answer me before I start assuming the worst. Liam, 11:10 a.m. My sister says she saw your story. Are you trying to humiliate me? Liam, 11:15 a.m. You know what? Fine. Have fun with your friend. Just don't pretend it's the same thing. The last one stopped me cold. Not the same thing. I typed slowly, deliberately. Me, just spending the weekend with a friend. Like you said, it's not the same thing, right? I hit send, turned my phone face down, and walked to the window. Outside, the late sunlight hit the glassy surface of the resort pool, throwing moving patterns across the wall. Noah joined me. You okay? I nodded. I think so. He tilted his head. You don't sound convinced. I took a sip of the water bottle I'd grabbed at the counter. You ever realize something about your relationship too late? Once or twice, he said softly. Usually around the time someone starts using the word trust as a get-out-of-jail-free card. That made me laugh. Exactly. Dinner that night was casual. 2 separate tables had been booked for us originally, but the restaurant was nearly empty, so we sat together. We ordered too much. Risotto, scallops, wine. I'd barely eaten half before I felt full, not from food, but from the quiet hum of safety. Noah talked about his sister's wedding plans, about the absurdity of groomsmen speeches and overpriced photographers. I told him about my mother's obsession with coupon codes. By the time dessert came, I realized I'd barely thought about Liam for an hour straight. When we left, I noticed my phone lighting up again in my bag. The screen reflected against the glass doors as we stepped into the courtyard. 27 missed calls. The last one came from an unknown number, then another, then another. I didn't need to check to know they were from Chloe, from Liam's sister Madison, maybe even his mother. People always rush to defend the narrative they want to believe. Back in my room, I plugged my phone in but didn't turn it over. Outside, the night was still and heavy, cicadas buzzing somewhere far off. I lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling fan until I heard a soft knock on the door. It was Noah, holding 2 bottled waters and a look that was half apology, half concern. "Sorry, just thought you might want company, or hydration, or both." I smiled. "Both, actually." He came in, leaned against the dresser, and nodded toward the phone. "Your boyfriend losing it?" "Predictably," I said. "He'll say it's different, that I crossed a line he didn't." Noah considered that. "Did you?" I met his eyes. "Did he?" A quiet moment passed between us. No flirtation, no tension, just understanding. "Guess the difference," he said finally, "is that you asked yourself that question." He handed me the water, nodded once, and left. The next morning, sunlight spilled through the curtains like a silent alarm. My phone, on the nightstand, was still buzzing with unread messages. Liam, 2:13 a.m. "Can we just talk? Please." Liam, 2:48 a.m. "I see what you're doing." Liam, 3:02 a.m. "Chloe says you're trying to get back at me." Liam, 3:07 a.m. "You're ruining everything." For a moment, I almost felt pity. Almost. Then I scrolled up to the first message again. "She's just my friend." I turned off the screen. Outside, Noah was waiting by the pool with coffee and a soft smile. "Ready to hit the beach? They're renting paddleboards." I grabbed my towel. "Yeah, let's go." The water was cold enough to shock laughter out of me. We wobbled, fell in twice, then gave up and floated on our backs, staring up at the sky. The world felt briefly, blissfully simple. When we came back to shore, I saw Noah's phone light up. A notification from social media. He grimaced. "Uh-oh, I posted a picture. You're kind of in the background." I squinted at it, both of us grinning, soaked, the sun sharp above us. He looked sheepish. "Want me to delete it?" I shook my head. "No, leave it." He studied me for a beat, then nodded. "Okay." By the time we walked back to the resort, my phone was vibrating so violently in my bag it sounded like a trapped insect. I finally checked it. Liam, 11:22 a.m. "I can't believe you're doing this." Liam, 11:25 a.m. "I just saw the picture." Liam, 11:28 a.m. "You're a hypocrite." Liam, 11:29 a.m. "This isn't the same." Liam, 11:31 a.m. "You're destroying us over nothing." And just beneath that, a new message from an unknown number. "Chloe, I don't know what game you're playing, but Liam's a wreck. Maybe grow up." I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed 2 words back. "Me, he'll live." I powered off my phone completely. That night, we sat on the patio of the resort restaurant, soft light flickering from the torches, the scent of lavender floating through the air. A couple nearby clinked glasses, laughing too loudly. Somewhere, music drifted from the bar, low, slow, mournful. Noah raised his glass toward me. "To mirrors," he said quietly, "and to finally looking in them." I smiled, a real one this time, the kind that ached a little. "To mirrors," I echoed. The truth was, this weekend wasn't about payback anymore. It was about clarity. And clarity, I was realizing, was something that didn't need anyone's permission. By Sunday morning, the air in the room felt lighter, like the storm had already passed somewhere else, leaving only stillness behind. I brewed coffee in the little in-room machine, poured it into a porcelain mug, and sat by the window watching the early light move across the vineyards. It was the kind of morning I used to crave. Quiet, slow, without Liam's notifications pinging between us, without his voice explaining why my discomfort was a flaw I needed to fix. When my phone buzzed, I didn't rush to check it, but the sound didn't stop. It pulsed again and again until curiosity tugged me toward it. 47 missed calls, 82 unread messages. For a heartbeat, I just stared. When I finally opened them, the chaos spilled out. Liam, "You can't ignore me forever." Liam, "I saw the photo. Are you serious right now?" Liam, "Everyone's asking me what's going on." Liam, "Chloe's crying. You made her cry." Liam, "Why are you doing this to me?" I scrolled further down. Messages from numbers I didn't recognize. Madison, his sister. My brother's devastated. You really humiliated him. Chloe. I thought you were mature, Evelyn. This is toxic behavior. His mom. Treating Liam this way after all he's done for you is unacceptable. A laugh, small, breathless, escaped before I could stop it. The irony was too sharp to hold in. They'd turn me into the villain overnight, the untrusting girlfriend, the manipulative schemer, the jealous woman who pushed him away. And all because I'd done exactly what he had. The screen lit up again. Incoming call. Liam Parker. I let it ring. Again and again. Finally, I typed one sentence and hit send. Me, spending the weekend with a friend, just like you. The 3 dots appeared instantly. Then his reply. Liam, don't play dumb. You know it's not the same thing. I locked my phone. That phrase again. Not the same thing. He really believed it. By noon, Noah and I were sitting at a cafe near the beach, the kind of place that served orange juice in mason jars and played soft guitar covers of old pop songs. He was scrolling his camera roll, grinning at the ridiculous paddleboard photos from yesterday. That one's going to haunt me, he said, showing me a shot of him mid-fall, legs flailing, splash captured perfectly midair. I laughed, shaking my head. You should frame it. He looked up. You're smiling again. That's good. I didn't realize I'd stopped, I said quietly. He studied me for a second, then said, You know, for what it's worth. I don't think you're crazy for what you did. You're just matching energy. Maybe. I stirred my drink, but somehow I still feel like the villain in his story. He leaned back. Let him write whatever version he wants. You know the truth. That's enough. It sounded so simple, maybe because it was. When we got back to the resort, the front desk clerk stopped me. Ms. Hart? She said carefully. There's someone downstairs asking for you. My pulse tripped. Who? A man, she said, agitated. Says he's your boyfriend. Do you want me to let him up? For a moment, I couldn't move. The words barely registered. He came here. 3 hours. He'd driven 3 hours just to... What? Corner me? Lecture me? Win? I swallowed. No, I said, steady. I don't have a boyfriend. The clerk blinked. Should we? If he's causing a disturbance, I said, voice calm, please handle it accordingly. Understood, ma'am. As I turned toward the elevator, I could already hear the muffled shouting echoing up from the lobby, his voice unmistakable even through the walls. Evelyn, are you kidding me right now? Open the door. The sound cut through the stillness like a siren. Noah appeared at the end of the hallway, towel slung over his shoulder. He raised his eyebrows. Is that... Yeah, I said, exhaling. That's him. You want me to... I shook my head. No, let security handle it. The elevator doors slid open. I stepped inside. As they closed, the shouting turned faint, then vanished altogether. When I got back to my room, I sat on the bed, phone buzzing again, vibrating across the table until it fell onto the carpet. I didn't pick it up. Outside the window, the sun was starting to drop behind the hills, throwing the sky into streaks of amber and violet. I thought about the first time Liam had said, trust me, how I'd wanted so badly to believe that trust meant safety, that it meant he'd guard my heart, not test how much pain it could absorb. And now, watching the vineyards fade into shadow, I realized he hadn't broken my trust. He'd only revealed what it had been built on, my silence. Security called 20 minutes later to let me know he'd left. Drove off after we asked him to go, the man said apologetically. Didn't take it well. I thanked him, hung up, and sat there for a long time, staring at the door. Then I stood, grabbed the half-finished bottle of wine from the minibar, and stepped out onto the balcony. The night air was cool, humming softly with the chirr of crickets. Below, couples strolled along the garden path, laughter trailing behind them. I lifted the glass, took a slow sip, and whispered, Here's to boundaries. The stars didn't answer, but I didn't need them to. The next morning, my phone was full again. Liam. I can't believe you had me removed. Liam. I drove 3 hours for you. Liam. You humiliated me in front of everyone. Liam. This is emotional abuse, Evelyn. Liam. You need help. Then, a final one. Liam. If you want to talk, I'll be home tonight. I stared at the message for a full minute before deleting the entire thread. Some things didn't deserve answers. When Noah knocked on my door for breakfast, I was already packed. He raised an eyebrow. Heading out early? Yeah, I said. Think I'm ready to go home. He nodded, grabbing his bag. Fair. Want to drive or should I? Drive, I said, smiling faintly. I'm tired of leading. The road home was quiet. No music this time. Just wind and the faint hum of tires on asphalt. Halfway back, Noah said softly, You're not going to let him talk his way back in, are you? I shook my head. No, I think I finally said everything I needed to, just not with words. He smiled. Then I'd call that progress. Maybe it was. By the time we reached my apartment, Liam's car was already there, parked crookedly, like he'd pulled in too fast. I sighed. Of course. You want me to wait? Noah asked. No, you've done enough. He hesitated. Text me when it's over, okay? Promise. As he drove off, I took a deep breath and walked inside. The door wasn't locked. That was my first clue. Inside, candles flickered on the table. Wine already poured into 2 glasses. Liam stood by the counter in his button-up, the one he wore for special dinners. His eyes were red, tired, desperate. Can we please talk now? He said softly. Sure, I said, setting my bag down. But I'm packing while we do. What? His voice cracked. Evelyn, no, I'm serious. We can fix this. I get it now, okay? I see why you were upset. I walked to the bedroom, started pulling clothes from drawers. Do you? He followed me, voice rising. Yes. I shouldn't have gone. I shouldn't have said you were insecure. I didn't think you'd actually do this. I turned, folding his shirt neatly. You mean show you the mirror? He blinked, confused. What? The mirror, I repeated. You said it wasn't the same thing. I just held it up. His face twisted, frustration cutting through the pleading. It's not the same. You went away with a guy from work. People saw your photos. You made me look like an idiot. And you went away with a woman you flirted with for years, I said, voice steady. You made me feel like one. He froze, the air between us thinned to a thread. You're overreacting, he said finally. No, I said, zipping my bag. I'm done reacting. The silence that followed was long and brittle. He tried again, softer now. 3 years, Eve? You're really throwing all that away? I met his eyes. No, you did. I'm just walking out of the rubble. He didn't move when I walked past him. Didn't follow when I closed the door behind me. Outside, the sky was turning rose gold with evening. I could still hear my own heartbeat as I descended the steps. Steady, certain, clean. For the first time in years, I didn't look back. By Tuesday morning, the story had spread further than I thought possible. People always talk. They always fill silence with their own version of events, especially when a woman chooses quiet over explanation. Liam made sure of that. I woke up to dozens of notifications, screenshots sent by mutual friends. His post had gone up late Monday night. When your girlfriend of 3 years decides to cheat out of spite, some people can't handle healthy friendships. Manipulation isn't love. The photo he chose, of me and Noah at the beach, looked deliberately cropped to make it worse. You couldn't see the distance between us, the paddleboards between our legs, the laughter that wasn't flirty but free. Just 2 people frozen in a moment he could twist. Below the post, the comments swarmed. Men deserve better. Toxic behavior 101. She always gave jealous vibes. I scrolled through them, one hand wrapped around my coffee mug, pulse steady. Each word landed softer than I'd expected, like stones thrown into a lake already frozen. Then, just as I was about to close the app, I saw her comment. Chloe's. You did everything you could, Liam. She didn't respect what you had. Some people never do. I stared at the screen, and for a moment, everything went very still. Then I laughed, a sharp, unexpected sound that startled even me. Because of course that's how this would go. The narrative had flipped completely. I was the reckless woman, and she was the wounded saint. But the thing about stories is this. They change when the truth walks in with receipts. I spent that afternoon on the couch, sorting through old texts. Every screenshot, every message, every "you're being insecure" he'd ever sent me about Chloe. Every "you should learn to trust me." And the one that started it all, it's not the same thing. I compiled them carefully into a single post. No captions, no bitterness, just a quiet lineup of proof. Then I hit share. At first, nothing happened. Then, a ping. Another. Then dozens. Comments started appearing beneath mine. Tessa, wow. The projection is wild. Mark, Liam's old coworker. Funny how it's only cheating when she does the exact same thing he did. Unknown user. Wait, wasn't Chloe the one posting flirty pics with him at that winery? Then, like divine timing, someone tagged Chloe's boyfriend, a man named Aaron. I didn't know him. I didn't have to. 10 minutes later, his post went up. A carousel of screenshots, messages from Chloe to Liam, late-night texts, miss you selfies, even a few with captions that made me nauseous to read. For the record, Aaron wrote, this is what my girlfriend was sending Evelyn's boyfriend during their friend trips. I think we can all stop pretending now. The comment sections flipped like a switch. Where there had been judgment, now there was silence. Then, slowly, apologies. Madison, I didn't know the full story. I'm sorry, Evelyn. Random follower. Damn, she really played both sides. Another. The mirror always hurts when it's clean. I put my phone face down and let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding for days. That night, my mother called. Sweetheart, she said, what on earth is going on? I just got a call from Liam's mother saying you went rogue on social media. I sighed, pressing my fingers to my temple. Of course she did. Did he really take that girl to a vineyard? Yes. And you did the same thing back? Also yes. A pause. Then, to my surprise, she laughed softly. You know, she said, I never liked that Chloe. Too pretty to have boundaries. I smiled faintly. You could have told me that sooner. I did, she said. You just didn't want to hear it. She was right. I'd spent 3 years convincing myself that reason could fix a double standard, that if I just communicated better, trusted more, stayed calm, I could balance something that was never built level. 2 days later, Liam texted again. Liam, I don't know why you're still trying to make me look bad. Liam, we both made mistakes. I wanted to fix things, but you clearly just wanted to win. Liam, I was going to propose after that trip. That last line almost made me laugh again. The melodrama of it, the timing. A proposal after invalidating me for months. A ring as a bandage for the wound he made. I typed back one sentence. Me. You can't propose to someone you never respected. Then I blocked his number. The weeks that followed felt strange, like walking out of a storm and realizing the world hadn't ended, just changed. I moved into a small studio apartment across town with windows that caught morning light and floors that creaked in a comforting way. I bought new dishes, new sheets, a new sense of quiet. Noah helped me carry boxes. He didn't say much, just lifted what I couldn't and made me laugh when I looked too serious. At one point, he held up a chipped mug from my old kitchen. Keep or toss? Keep, I said after a moment. It survived a lot. Like you, he said. Then, softer, you doing okay? I nodded. Better than okay, finally. He smiled. Brunch next Sunday? Wouldn't miss it. That night, I sat on my balcony with a glass of wine, not to toast to revenge or closure, but to peace. The city below was quiet, small sounds rising up like whispers. Someone walking their dog, a car door closing, the hum of an old air conditioner. I thought about everything Liam had said, all the ways he'd tried to convince me that his version of trust was the only right one. That love meant ignoring what hurt, that silence was maturity. He used to say, it's not the same thing, and for once I agreed with him. It wasn't, because when I went away, I didn't go to prove a point. I went to find one. And when I looked in that mirror, I finally saw someone worth defending. Someone who didn't need to be the cool girlfriend. Someone who didn't need to explain why respect mattered. Someone who could choose herself, quietly, without fanfare. I raised my glass to the skyline, the reflection of the city flickering faintly in the wine's surface. Here's to clarity, I whispered, and to finally being done auditioning for it. Then I took a long, steady sip and let the night swallow the last of his voice.